Ban Yasha Allah.
Ban Yasha Allah.
Corey, Ban Yahweh, Ban Yasha Allah.
Madam Shabbat. Madam, bring it back. Rock. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Ba'ashem.
Yahweh Shah.
Yahweh Shah.
Barakatah.
Barakatah.
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Barakatah.
Yasha Allah.
Yasha Allah.
Drink. Turn me. Madam, walking Yah Hakadam, which means rise and face the east. We're going to read the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. We're going to read the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew, then in the English. Abinah, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemkah, Yahweh, Malak Wafka, Saba'ah, Retazayaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratiza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathan Lakam, Call, Yawam, Wasalak now, Kabawak now, Kasalak now, Kabawak now, Wala'ah, Tabi'ai now, Banasai one, Abol, Habashai now, Mayan, Rad, Kaya, Lakab, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatapa'ara, La'ai Amar, and in English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven, give us this day, our daily bread, forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever, so be it. This is Hakat, the power. Yahweh. Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Baba Kusha. Nathan Lanam. Hakat. Larapa'ah. Kamaka Allah. Wakol Marawa. Hakat. Latahar. Hamatazarayim. Hakat. Lahakim. Hamakim. Hakat. Arapa'awah. Hatama Allah. Lagarashan. Bahashim Yahweh Shah. The water Aman. In English. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shah. Please give us the power. Power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shah. Thank you. So be it. This is bless Israel in the Hebrew. Yahweh. Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Barak Lanam. Barakadano.
Wayasha'ala,
Rasha'ala.
Wahabaya,
Habiyah.
Sapari,
Sapari.
Barak,
Barak.
Rapah,
Rapah.
Magun,
Magun.
Hagun,
Magun.
Bahashimi Abashai,
Hashim Yahushua.
the water
The
Aman,
word Amon. And in the English, Yahweh.
Yahweh,
In the name of Yahushua.
in the name of Abashai,
Bless us and Israel.
and Israel,
And the school.
and the school.
Bless.
Bless,
Heal.
heal,
Shield.
shield,
Protect.
protect.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Abashai,
Thank you.
thank you,
So be it.
so be it. This is Psalm 121. Aisha,
Aisha.
Ayanya,
Ayanya.
Ahahari,
Ahahari.
Ma'ayan,
Ma'ayan.
Yaba'a,
Yaba'ah.
Izari,
Isaiah.
Izari,
Isaiah.
Ma'ayin,
Ma'ayin.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Aisha,
Aisha.
Shamayam,
Shamayam.
Wa'aratiza,
Ma'aratza.
Ayatan,
Ayatan.
Lamawat,
Salawat.
Regolka,
Regolka.
Al-Yanawam,
Ayatawam.
Shamarka,
Shamarka.
Hana,
Hana.
La'a,
La'ah.
Yanawam,
Yanawam.
Wala'a,
Wala'ah.
Yigishan,
Yashan.
Shawamar,
Shalomah.
Yasha'al,
Yasha'al.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Shamarka,
Shamarka.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Tazolka,
Zolka.
Al-Yad,
Al-Yad.
Yamika,
Yamika.
Yawamam,
Yamamam.
Hashamash,
Hashemash.
La'a,
La'ah.
Yakaka,
Yakaka.
Wayarach,
Wayarach.
Balayila,
Walayala.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Yashamarka,
Shamarka.
Makoran,
Korah.
Yashamar,
Yashimar.
Atnapashka,
Asnapasha.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Yashamar,
Yashimar.
Taza'afka,
Aza'aka.
Waru'aka,
Wabuaka.
Ma'yafa,
Ma'ida.
Wa'ai,
Wa'ai.
Awalam,
Abalam.
Aman.
Aman. In the English. I will lift up my eyes into the hill.
I will lift up my eyes into the hill.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence cometh my help?
My help coming from Yahweh,
My help cometh from your house,
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee
He that keepeth thee
will not slumber.
will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Israel
he that keepeth Israel
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee thy day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee
Yahweh shall preserve thee
from all evil.
from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in,
and thy coming in
from this time forth
from this time forth
and even forevermore.
and even forevermore.
So be it.
So be it. This is Psalm 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim,
Alahayim.
Al-Damayalaka,
Al-Damayalaka.
Al-Fakarash,
Al-Fakarash.
with all Tashakwat,
Al-Ashakwat.
all
Al.
Kayahana,
Yahana.
Awiyamyaka,
Yahana.
Yahama Yawan,
Yahana.
Womashanayaka,
Shanayaka.
Neshawa,
Nashawa.
Ra'ash,
Ra'ash.
Al-Aimaka,
Al-Aimaka.
Ya'ariyamwa,
Ya'ariyamwa.
Sawat,
Sawat.
where you say Ya'ai
Wayataya'atazawa.
Altazap Awanyaka,
Altazapawanyaka.
Amarawa,
Amarawa.
Lakawa,
Akawa.
Wanakakium,
Nakakidam.
Mongolia,
Golia.
Wala'a,
Wala'ah.
Yasakar,
Yasakar.
Sham Yasha'al,
Sham Yasha'al.
Iwad,
Iwad.
Kaya,
Kaya.
Nawa'ai
Nawa'ayatazawa.
La,
La.
Yachadwa,
Yakadwa.
Ayaka,
Ayaka.
Boryak,
Baryak.
Yakarafwa,
Akarakwa.
Aholia,
Aholia.
Arawam,
Arawam.
Wamshamai Alayam,
Wamasha'ai Alayam.
Mo'aba,
Mawa'aba.
Wahagarium,
Wahagarium.
Gabal,
Gabal.
Wa'amawan,
Wa'amawan.
Wa'amalat,
Wa'amalat.
Palashah,
Palashah.
and Yeshavia,
Amishadra.
Tazawar,
Tazawar.
Gum Ashawar,
Gum Ashawar.
Nalawa,
Nalawa.
Imam,
Imam.
Hayawa,
Aywa.
Zarawai,
Zarawai.
Labanya Lawat,
Bandilawat.
Salah,
Salah.
Aishalaham,
Aishalaham.
Kamadin,
Kamadi.
Kasa Yasara'ah,
Kasa Yasara'ah.
Kayabin,
Kayabim.
Menachol,
Wanakol.
Quayashwan,
Yashwan.
Neshamadwa,
Nashamadwa.
Wa'ayanda Ara,
Ayanda Ara.
Hayawa,
Aywa.
Daman,
Daman.
La'adama,
La'adama.
Shayatanwa,
Sayathamba.
Nadiyapawa,
Nadiyapawa.
Ka'irab,
Ka'arab.
Wakaza'aba,
Because of Abba.
Wakazabat,
Because of Bak.
Wakazazolmanai,
Because of Zolmanai.
Ko,
Go.
Nasayakamwa,
Sayakamwa.
Ashar,
Shah.
Amarwa,
Amara.
Nayarashah,
Mayarashah.
Lanawa,
Manawa.
At, Na'awat,
Na'awa.
Alahayim,
Alahayim.
Alahayat,
Alahayim.
Shayatanwa,
Sayathamba.
Kagogala,
Gagala.
Kakwash,
Shakwash.
Lapanyaraka,
Napanjabaka.
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash.
Faba'ira Ira,
Ira Ya'ira.
Wakalahaba,
Wakalahaba.
Salahat,
Salahat.
Haryam,
Hurry.
Khan,
Kun.
Faradakma,
Radatma.
Wasa'iraka,
Wasa Iraka.
Wawasapafka,
Wabasapaka.
Halam,
the Bahalum,
Mala'ah,
Mala'ah,
Hanyaham,
Panyaham,
Kwalawan,
Kolawan,
Wayabakwashwa,
Ayibakwashwa,
Shamka,
Shamka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yabashwa,
Yabashwa,
Wayabahowa,
Ayibahawa,
Ayai,
Ayai,
Wayachaparwa,
Ayibapara,
Wayabadwa,
Ayabadwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Ayidaiwa,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Atha,
Atha,
Shamka,
Shamka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Labadka,
Labadka,
Ayawan,
Ayawan,
Alkal,
Alkal,
Ha'aratazah,
Ha'aratazah,
Amon.
Amon, and in the end, keep not thy sons,
Keep not thy sight,
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh.
hold not thy peace,
Hold not thy peace,
be not still, O Yahweh,
and be not still, O Yahweh.
for lo,
For lo,
thy enemies make a tumult,
thy enemies make a tumult,
and they that hate thee
and they that hate thee
have lifted up the head,
have lifted up the head.
they have taken crafty counsel
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people,
against thy people,
and consulted against thy hidden
and
one.
consulted against thy hidden one.
They have said,
They have said,
come,
Come,
and let us cut them off,
and let us cut them
from
off
being the nation,
from being a nation,
that the name of
that
Israel
the name of Israel
may be no more remembered.
may be no more remembered.
But they have consulted together
They have consulted together
with one consent,
with one consent.
they have confederate against
They are
thee,
confederate against thee,
the tabernacles of
the
Edom,
tabernacles of Edom,
and the Ishmaelites,
and the Ishmaelites,
of Moab,
of
and
Moab,
Hagarenes,
and the Hagarenes,
Gabal,
Gabal,
and
and Ammon,
Amalek,
and Amalek,
the Philistines,
the Philistines,
with the inhabitants of
with
Tyre.
the inhabitants of Tyre.
Asher is also joined with them.
Asher is also joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah,
Salah,
do unto them
do unto them
as unto the
as
Midianites,
unto the
as
Midianites,
to Sisera,
as to Sisera,
as to Jabin,
as to Jabin,
at the brook of
at the
Kison,
brook of Kison,
which perished at
which
Endor.
perished in Endor.
They became as dung for the
They
earth.
became as dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like a ram,
Make their nobles like a
and
ram,
like
and
Zeed.
like Zaled.
Yea,
Yet
all their princes,
all their princes,
as Zabah,
as Zabah,
and as
and
Amun,
as the moon,
who said,
who said,
let us take to
Let
ourselves
us take to
the
ourselves
houses of the Most High
the house of the Most High
in possession.
in possession.
Oh, my power,
Oh, my power,
make them like a wheel,
make them like a
as
wheel,
the stubble before the wind,
as a stubble before the wind,
as the fire burneth a wood,
as the fire burneth the
and
wood,
as the flame setteth the mountains on
and
fire.
as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them
So persecute
with
them
thy tempest,
with thy tempest,
and make them
and
afraid
make them afraid
with thy storm.
with thy storm,
Fill their faces with shame,
fill their faces with shame,
that they may seek thy
that
name.
they may seek thy name.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh,
let them be confounded
let them be
and
confounded
troubled forever.
and troubled forever.
Yea,
Yea,
let them be put to shame
let them be put to shame
and perish,
and perish,
that men may
that
know
men may know
that thou,
that thou,
whose name alone
whose name alone
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the Most High
art the Most High
of all the earth.
of all the earth.
So be it.
So be it. These are the blessings in Hebrew. Barakatha Yahweh,
Rakatha Yahweh,
wa Yahweh
O
Shai,
Yahweh Shai,
wa Yaka Allah,
Rama Yaka
wa
Allah,
Allah Hayim,
Wa Hayim,
wa Tazab Ya'ah,
Tizab Ya'ah,
Alawak Yaham,
Alawat Yaham,
Ha Alawakyam,
Alawat Yaham,
Hasaranyam,
Asaranya,
Hakwatazayanyam,
Akutaza Yamya,
Hachayayolyam,
Akaya
wa
Yomya,
Ha'akwakyam,
Wa Akwakian,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
wa Hashim Yahushai,
Hashem Yahweh,
wa Wa Amah.
the Rod Amah, and in the English, bless you Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh,
and Yahweh Shai,
and Yahweh Shai,
and Michael,
and Michael,
and the angel,
and the
the
angel,
man in general
the
Yahweh,
manager of Yahweh,
the general,
the general,
the captain,
the captain,
the officer,
the officer,
the trooper,
the trooper,
and the sister,
and the sister,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
and then Yahweh Shai,
and then Yahweh Shai.
thank you,
Thank you.
so be it.
So be it.
So, which means return. Shot between six. We're going to be reading today. We're going to be starting in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 12 through 18. We're going to do it in the Hebrew and then we're going to do it in the English. If I could, take the first three. You take the last four. Right? Before we get the Bible ready, we're going to be on 15, so that way you know exactly what you said. If you're following along at home, it's good to get the Blue Letter Bible downloaded. It's a free biblical app on your phone. And what you can do is you can actually go to the interlinear and you can click on the verse and follow along in the Hebrew. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12 through 18. We're going to be starting that in the Hebrew.
Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12. One second. Kaya, Yamakar, Baka, Akayak, Akyaka, Aibaria, Awa, Aibaria,
Sorry, I was just looking, that's a feminine word. It'd be hot, I borrow your hot, that's a woman, someone Hebrew woman.
no, Aibaria, Baria,
Come.
Wa'aibarak. That would be the rock right west. Wa'abaika. Shash. Shenyam. Washina. Ashabaya Ai. Ashabya Ai. Ashalakanwa, Kapashia, Ma'ainka, Ma'aimak, verse 13. Yeah, the Shilakanwa, Kapashia, Mayamak, Ma'aimak, La'a, the Shilakanwa, where you Kwam, verse 14. Yak. What's it?
Come.
These words again. The Anyak. The Wa. Which has an anak. Which has an anka. Woman the runka. Woman ya kwabka. Ashar. The rock ka. Yahweh. Alahayaka. The sun. The wa. Verse 15. Was a karaf, kaya, ibad, hayayat, baratasa, matazarayim, Padka, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Al, Kun, Anakya, Wak, Wakab, Adabar, Azar, Hayawam, verse 16. Wahaya, Kaya, Ya'imar, Aliyaka, La'a, Ataza'a, Ma'ainka, Kaya, Ahabka, Wa'a, Bayatka, was that right?
Yeah, it was good.
Kaya, Tizawa, Zawa, Imaka. That's right. Imak. What? Verse 17. Well, cock. Ah. Hamarata the eye. Hamarata the eye. Wanafta. Zanwa. Wabadala. Wahaya, Naka, Ibad, Iwamam, Wa'a, La'amaka, La'aisha, Kan, verse 18. Wa'a, Yapasha, Wa'ayanka, Shalaka, it's like Bashalaka, Arthur, Kapashia, Ma'aimka, Kaya, Mashana, Shakar, Shakayar, Ibadka, Shash, Shanyam, over Rakka, the Hawa, Alahayaka, the Kol, the Shah, the Aisha. That's it. The keys there. If I could, we're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 12 to 18 in the English. So just let me read that. All of the chapter verses.
Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12. And if thine brother, an Hebrew man, or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. Verse 13. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Verse 14. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thine flock, and out of thine floor, and out of thine winepress, of that wherewith the Most High thine God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him.
You know, this is interesting too, because you can see how the oppressive system is devilish. Now, right here, after you just worked for a brother for 6 years, and then on the 7th year, when you let that brother or sister go free, you were supposed to give them something so that they can, start their own life on a good foot, on a good note, so they can start off in a surplus, per se. Now, what happens when we work for the oppressor for 30 years? What does he give us? A certificate.
Yeah.
That's it. A certificate. This shows the spirit of the Lord and how it is different from the spirit of the oppressor.
Deuteronomy chapter 15. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Most High thine God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. Verse 16. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee in thine house, because he is well with thee. Verse 17. Then thou shalt take a nail, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thine servant forever. And also unto thy maid servants thou shalt do likewise. Verse 18. It shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away from thee, for he hath been worth a double hired servant to thee, and serving thee 6 years, and the Most High thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest.
And it if you notice here, sometimes, when you're working for a Hebrew brother, you probably, in certain situations, you like working with that brother. You want to be employed by him, okay? And so that, going back to that, verse 16, he said he loveth thy house, okay? He wants to be working for them because, when you're employed by a brother who has the Spirit of the Lord, he's going to be fair and he's going to treat you right. He's going to treat you right. He's going to take care of you. He's going to help you. He's not going to cheat you. He's not going to cheat you out your money. Okay? You might want to be employed with a brother like that.
Right.
You might want to work forever. You'd be like, now I want to stay and work with you. Because you know that brother's going to have fair judgments. He's going to make sure you're taken care of. Okay? But like I said, when you put your hard-earned work, working for the oppressor for 25, 30, 40 years, all he gives you is a certificate.
Right.
And sometimes he don't even give you your retirement.
Right.
If you do something wrong, he'll cut that. Or he won't give you a severance pay, package pay. All right? That shows the difference.
Right. Once you bring that, it's so heavy. That's where the term going postal came from. They used to do that to the postal workers. When they get close to retiring and they get that pension and whatnot, they do something and fire them. That way they can't collect it, People was coming back to the job shooting stuff up, That's the culture of our oppressor, man. All right, so we in Deuteronomy chapter 15. We're going to be reading verses 19 through 23 in the Hebrew, and as well as Deuteronomy 16, 1 and 2 in the Hebrew, and then in the English. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 19. Call, have a war, Shar, Yawalad, Quarka, Wabataza Anka, Hazakar, Hakodayash, La Yahawah, Alahayaka, La'ab, La'ibad, Babakar, Shawarka, Shawarak, Shawarka, Shawarka, Wala'ab, the gods, Bakawar, Taza'anka, verse 20. The Punya, Yahawah, Alahayaka, the Akananwa, Shana, Vashana, War, it's like Wam, Ashar, Yabakar, Yahawah, Atha, the Yatka, verse 21. Yahaya, Wawa, Wawam, the Sak, Awa, Iwar, Kal, Wawam, Ra'ai, La'a. There's a Bakanwa, La Yahawah, Alahayaka, verse 22. Basha Ariyak, Basha Ariyaka, the Akalunwa. Say it again.
That's the word eat. It's a cold.
It's a cold.
Verse of the cold now, 22, the word eat is in there.
So the Akalunwa.
Come, sir.
The Akalunwa. Hatama. Wuhata war. The Kadma. Katazabia. y'all. Verse 23. Rock. Damwa. La'a. The Akol. Al. Ha'arakaza. The Shapakanwa. Kamayam. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Verse 1. War, Kadash, Abayah, Wa'aishayah, Pasak, La Yahawah, Alahayaka, Kayah, Wakadash, Abayah, Awatazayah. Hawatazayaka. Is that right? How you see it?
It's either or. I know it's a cut there.
Good. Hawatazayaka. Yahweh. Alahayaka. Umatazaraya. Layala. Verse 2. Was a bakah.
Was a sacrifice.
Was a bak. The sak. La Yahweh. Alahayaka. Taza an. From a quar. From a Kawam. Shar. Yabakar. Yahweh. Rashakan. Shamwa. Sham. That's it. We're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 19 through 23, and Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1 through 2 in the English.
Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 19. And all the firstling males that come from thine herd and of thine flock, thou shalt sanctify unto the Most High thine God. Thou shalt do no work with the firstlings of thine bullock, nor shear the firstlings of thine sheep. Verse 20. Thou shalt eat it before the Most High thy God year by year in the place which the Most High shall choose, thou indeed household. Verse 21. And if there be any blemishes therein, as if it be lamb or blind, or have any ill blemishes, thou shalt not sacrifice it unto the Most High thy God. Verse 22. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the heifer. Verse 23. Only thou shalt not eat the blood of thee. Thou shalt pour it upon the ground as water. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Most High thine God. For in the month of Abib, the Most High thine God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Verse 2. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Most High thy God, of the flock and of the herd, in the place which the Most High shall choose to place his name there.
We'll be reading Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 3 through 9 in the Hebrew, and then in the English. Deuteronomy chapter chapter 16, verse 3. The Akol, Alayawa, Kamataza, Shaba'ai, Yum, the Akol, Alayawa, Matazawa, Rakam, Anya, Kaya, Kapazma.
I'm not sure the word that
Kapaz,
it sound right.
Kapazma. Yataza, Ma'arataza, Matazaraya, Mama'ain, there's a car, Yawam, there's a after, Ma'arataza, Matazaraya, Ko, Yamya, Kaya, Kayak, Kayayaka.
Come, that sound about right.
Verse 4. Wala'a, Yara'a, Laka, Sha'ar, Lako, Labalka, Shaba'ai, Yum, Wala'a, Yalayayan, Man, Abashar, Ashar, there's a bak, Ba'ira, for your woman, Hara Ashwan, Lalapor, verse 5, La'a, Lalako, there's a bak, Papasak, Ba'akar, Ba'akad, Sha'ariyaka, Shah, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Nathan, Laka, verse 6. Kiyah, Awa, Hamakawam, Shah, Yabakar, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Mashakan, Shamwa, Sham, there's a Bak, Papasak, Ba'ira, Abuba'a, Hashemash, Mawa'ai, there's a Afka, Mamatazaraya, verse 7. Wabashalah, Wa'akala,
So let's eat.
Wa'akalfa,
Come.
Wamakawam, Ashar, Yabakar, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Wa, Wapanya, Wapanya, Wapapor, Wahalaka, Lahawyaka, verse 8. Shashat, Yum, the call, it says a why. What were your woman? Hashab Ya'aya, Hashabayaya. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Hashabayaya.
correct. Come, it's Sabbath. Come, Sabbath.
Boy. Aitaza Ra, the Yahweh, Alahayaka, the Aisha, Malaka, verse 9. Shaba'ai, the Sapar, Baka, Mahakol, Karamash, Bakwama, the Kol, the Sapar, Shaba'ai. Is that Shabbat or Shabbat Ha?
Which word?
Verse 9. The second from the last.
Not sure about that. That's it might be Shabbat because it's 7. Maybe
Right.
Shabbat
That's what
Shabbat.
yeah, Shabbat Ha.
Shabbat, I would think so because it ends with I don't think you would pronounce that.
That's what I was thinking.
Kind of.
What? Shabbat Ha. Shabbat Wa. And that's it. We're going to be reading from, in the English, Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 3 through 9 in the English.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 3. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou comest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life.
So during the Passover, in the days of unleavened bread, we are to see the Lord commands us to eat unleavened bread because to remind us how we came out of Egypt. We came out of Egypt in haste. Okay, so when we eat that unleavened bread, so that means that we didn't have time for us to put the leaven, which causes the bread to rise. We didn't even have enough time. We were pushed out of Egypt because the Lord was a terror in Egypt. The Egyptians rushed us out, so we left in haste. So when we eat that bread of affliction or the bread of haste, that's to remind us how quickly we came out of Egypt, how quickly the Lord delivered us.
Yeah.
Verse 4. And thou shalt be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thine coasts 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh, which thou sacrificest the first day at even, remain all night until the morning. Verse 5. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thine gates, which the Most High thy God giveth thee. Verse 6. But at the place which the Most High thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. Verse 7. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place where the Most High God shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go into thine tents. Verse 6. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Most High thine God. Thou shalt do no work wherein. Thou shalt do no work therein. Verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou remember unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickles to the corn.
We're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 10 through 16 in the Hebrew.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 10. Va'ishayath Chag Shabaywath LaYahawah Alahayaka Asaf Nadabath Yadka Ashar Athan Ka Ashar Yabarachka Yahawah Alahayaka. Verse 11. Washam Machath Lapunya Yahawah Alahayaka Atha Wabunka Wabathka Ibadka Wa'amathka Wahal Ashar Basha'aryaka Wahagar Thawam Waha'ala Mana Ashar Bakwarabka Bamakwawam Ashar Yabachar Yahawah Alahayaka Ashakan Shamwa Shum. Verse 12. was a Korath, Kaya, Ibad, Hayas, Bamatazarian, was Shamartha, was Aishayas, As, Hachakyam, Ha'ala, verse 13, Chad, Hasakas, Ha'aisha, Ha'aisha, Lakah, Shabaitha, Yum, Ba'asaka, Magaranka, Wamayakwabka, verse 14. Washa Machath, Bachagka, Atha, Wabanka, Wabathka, Ibadka, Wa'amathka, Wa'ahoya, Wa'hagar, Wa'hayathum, Wa'hayathawam, Wa'ha'alam Anah, Ashar, Wa'shar Aryaka, verse 15. Shabaitha, Yum, Kag, La Yahweh, Alahayaka, Bamakwawam, Ashar, Yabakar, Yahweh, Kaya, Yabarakha, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Bakal, Wa'afka, Wabakal, Shabai, Ba'aisha, Yadyaka, Wahayayaf, Ak, Shamak, verse 6, we'll go to 60, that's right.
Yeah.
Shalay Wash, Ha'ain Yum, Bashana, Yara'aha, Ka, Zakar Warka, Af, Panya, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Bamakwawam, Ashar, Yabakar, Bachad, Hamatazawaf, Wabachad, Hashaba'ai, Waf, Wabachad, Hasakawaf, Wala'ah, Yara'aha, Panya, Yahweh, Wayakwam. That's it.
We're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 10 through 16 in the English.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 10. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Most High thy God, with a tribute of free will offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Most High thy God, according as the Most High thy God hath blessed thee. Verse 11. And thou shalt rejoice before the Most High thy God, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy maidservant, and thy maidservant, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite that was within thy gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are among you, and the place which the Most High thy God hath chosen to place his name there. Verse 12. And thou shalt remember that thou wasn't a bondman, that thou was a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Verse 13. Thou shalt observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days. After that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine.
Stop right there for a second. And you notice the Most High here does something. He keeps reminding Israel that they were once a bondman, a servant in Egypt. Now there's a number of reasons why he does it, but one reason I want to point out is that he keeps reminding them is because when you are a slave or a servant to another people or culture, you take on their customs. You go by their laws. You go by their stuff. So you notice how the Most High is separating that. He says, remember that you were a bondman in Egypt, but you shall do this. So he's contrasting, now that you are separate from Egypt, stuff that you should be doing that are things that are not what an Egyptian would do. This is why he's telling them the law, statutes, and commandments. Because it's like, remember you were this in Egypt. You were a servant, so you were serving their gods, or you were under their laws. But now you shall do this. Notice he's making a distinction. So I always say those Egyptologists or the Kemet groups, we shouldn't be with them. Because the Most High is making a distinction here. He's making a distinction that we are not to be a Hamite. We are not to be Kemet. We are not to, like I said, he always said, I brought you out of Egypt. I brought you out of the Kemet groups, the Hamite groups.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 14. And thou shalt rejoice in thine feast, thou, and thine son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are within thine gates. Verse 15. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Most High thine God, in the place which the Most High shall choose. Because the Most High thine God shall bless thee in all thine increases, and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. Verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Most High thine God, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Most High empty.
It's like, what good? These scriptures are so important, man, because we reading about the accounts in Egypt, and the slavery we served in Egypt, and how the Lord brought us out of that place. You understand? We reading about it, but we on the brink of the same thing here. You understand? We on the brink of the Lord bringing us out of this evil society. You understand? And us coming back to keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why it's so important to get into these classes, man. Like, we reading about our history, but it's so prophetic because we about to go through the same thing again.
Right.
You understand? So we got to get back to keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, man, and put on our culture. You understand? Like these high holy days, these statutes and these are not for the Jewish man.
Right.
Like, a lot of times we think that these things are for the Jewish man over in Israel. If you're in Baltimore, you know, up in Park Heights, they call it Jew town. We think that they supposed to be keeping these laws and these high holy days. This is for the black man in Cherry Hill. This is for the black man down Lexington Market. You understand? This is for the black man, the Latino, Native American man that's in poverty right now. You understand? These records are for us, man. And we got to come back to our culture, man. Just want to bring that up. Okay, so we're going to read Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 17 through 22, and then Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 1 in the Hebrew.
Come. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 17. Ayash, Kamathon, Nath, Yadwa, Kabarkath, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Ashar, Nathan, Lot. Verse 16, verse 18. Shapatyam, Washatariam, Thun, Lakah, Bakal, Sha'aryaka, Ashar, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Nathan, Lakah, Lashapatyaka, Washapathwa, Ayin, Mashapat, Tazadak. Verse 19. La'ah, Ta, Mashapat, La'ah, Vakayar, Hunyam, La'ah, Vakwak, Shakad, Yakayah, Ashakad, Aiwar, Ayanya, Chakamyam, Wayasalat, Tabarya, Tazadakma. Verse 20. Tazadak, Tharadak, Lama'ain, Thachaya, Wayarashta, Ratiza, Ashar, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Nathan, Lach. Verse 21. La'ah, Ta'ai, Lakah, Asharha, Kal, Aitazah, Atazal, Lazabak, Yahweh Alahayaka, Ashar, Aisha, Lak. Verse 22. Wala'ah, Fakwiyam, Laka, Batazabya, Batazabha, Ashar, Shana, Yahweh Alahayaka. 17:1. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 1. La'ah, Fasabak, La Yahweh Alahayaka, Shawar, Basha, Ashar, Yahaya, Bawa, Mawam, Ko, Dabar, Rai, Kaya, Bawa Aibas, Yahweh Alahayaka, Hawa'ah. And that's it. Deuteronomy chapter 16, we're in verse 17 through 22. And then 17.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 17. Every man shall give as he is able according to the blessings of the Most High thine God, which he has given thee. Verse 18. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thine gates, which the Most High thine God giveth thee, throughout thine tribe, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Verse 19. Thou shalt not bless judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift for a gift, doeth blind the eyes of the wise, and prevent the words of the righteous.
So, if you notice here, this is another contrast with the heathen system. The heathen system, their judgments, they can be bribed. They can be bribed. They do respect persons. You know, if you're of a different if you're of a different nationality, they favor certain nationalities over others. They take bribes. Okay, they take gifts. So this makes a distinction between their system and the system of the Lord. Right. There's a distinction. The Lord's system is righteous, it's fair. Okay? Psalm 19, the judgments of the Lord are right. Psalm 19. The law of the Lord is perfect. The statutes are right and are good.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 20. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which the Most High thine God giveth thee. Verse 21. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any tree near unto the altar of the Most High thine God, which thou shalt make thee. Verse 22. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Most High thine God hateth. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 1. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Most High thine God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil flavoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Most High thine God.
In Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 2 through 8 in the Hebrew.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 2. Kaya yamataza'ah, Bakwarabka, Ba'achad, Sha'aryaka, Ashar, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Nathan, Lak, Ayash, Awa'ah, Ashar, Ya'aisha, Harai, Ba'ayanya, Yahweh is like Alahayaka, La'aibar, Barayathwa. Verse 3. Wayalak, Wayaibad, Alahayim, Harim, Wayashafakwa, Aham, Wayashamash, Awa, Layarach, Awa, Akal, says Wa'ah. Tazabah. What? Shunyam. Ashar. La'ah. Tazawayat. Verse 4. God. Lakah. Washamitha. With the Rashta. Hayatah. Wahana. Amas. Nakawan. Adabar. The Aishata. Hatawa Aiba. Haza'ath. Bayasha'ala. Verse 5. Wahawa Taza'ath. Ath. Ha'ayash. Ha'awa'ah. Hawa. Ath. Ha'asha. Hawa'ah. Ashar. Aishawa. Ath. Hadabar. Harai. Azah. Al. Sha'aryaka. Ath. Ha'ayash. Awa. Ath. Ha'asha. Wasakwala thumb. Ba'abanam. Wa'abanyam. Wamaswa. Verse 6. Verse 8. Paya. Shanyam. Ayam. Awa. Shalasha. Ayam. Yawamas. Hamas. Ba'a. Yawamas. Paya. Chad. Verse 7. Yad. Ha'ayam. Sahaya. Bawa. Bara Ashanha. Sahamayaswa. Wayad. Kal. Ha'ain. Ba'acharna. Wa'aibartha. Harai. Makwarabka. Verse 8. Kaya. Yapala. Mumka. The bar. From a shapat. Bayan. Dum. Ladum. Bayan. Dayan. Ladayan. Wabayan. Nagai. Lanagai. Dabarya. Rayabath. Ashabaryaka. Wakwamat. Wa'ai Layath. All. Hamakwawam. Ashar. Yabachar. Yahawa. Alahayaka. What? That's it.
We're reading Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 2 through 8 in English.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 2. If there be found among you within any of thine gates which the Most High thine God giveth thee, man or woman, that have wrought wickedness in the sight of the Most High thine God, in transgressing his covenant, verse 3, and have gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon or any of the host of heavens, which I have not commanded. Verse 4, and it be told thee that thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought into Israel. Verse 5, then shalt thou bring forth that man or woman which hath committed that wicked thing unto thine gate, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones until they die. Verse 6, at the mouth of two witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. Verse 7, the hands of the witness shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. Verse 8, if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within the gates. When shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Most High thy God shall choose?
What you need?
Bathroom.
Come on. We're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 9 through 15 in the Hebrew.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 9. Waba'as all hachahanyam halonyam wa'al hashapat hashar yahaya bayamyam haham wadarashta wahagayadwa laka tabar hamashapat. Verse 10. Wa'aishayaf al hayah adabar ashar yadwa laka man hamakwawam hahawa'a ashar yabachar yahawa washamartha wa'aishawaf kakal ashar yawar Ka. Ka. Verse 11. Ayah. War. Ashar. Ka. Wa'al. Shapat. Ashar. Amarwa. Laka. Aisha. That's a war. Man, Adabar, Ashar, Yadwa, Laka, Yumyam, Washama'al, verse 12. Ayash, Ashar, Aisha, Baza the one. Bazad ones like it. Labo Lathya, Shamai Al, Akahan, Fa'aiman, Lasharaf, Shum, Yahweh, Allahayaka, Awa, Al, Hashapat, Wamath, Ha'ayash, Ha'wa'a, Yaba'artha, Harai, Mayasha'al, verse 13. Wakal, Ha'ain, Yashamaywa, Wayara'awa, Wala'a, Yazayad one. Iwad, verse 14, sorry. Kaya, Sabah, Sabah, Al, Aratisa Ashar, Yahweh, Allahayaka, Nathan, Lak, Rashta, Shabbatha, Ba, Amartha, Ashayamha, Alya, Malak, Kakal, Agadium, Ashar, Sabiyabatha, Sabiyabatha, Sabyathaya, Salaki. Verse 15. Shawam, Thashayam, Alyaka, Malak, Ashar, Yabachar, Yahweh, Allahayaka, Bawa, Makorab, Akyaka, Thashayam, Alyaka, Malak, La'a, Tawakal, Lathath, Alyaka, Ayash, Nakaria, Ashar, La'a, Akyaka, Wa'a. That's it.
We're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 9 through 15 in the English. Come.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 9. And thou shalt come into the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall sue thee the sentence of judgment. Verse 10. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of the people which of the Most High shall choose shall sue thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. Verse 11. According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall sue thee, to the right hand nor to the left. Verse 12. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Most High thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. Verse 13. And all the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. Verse 14. And when thou art come unto the land which the Most High thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over thee, like as all the nations that are about thee. Verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Most High thy God shall choose. One from among thine brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou makest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thine brother.
And what I was actually, what he just read is so we need to heed to it. What we usually do in our community is we like to set strangers over us. And the Most High right here is saying, do not set a stranger over you. Okay, but what do we do usually in our community? We will sit up here and we'll vote for, Biden and Trump and whoever else, and even Obama. We'll set a stranger over us. We like, and what happens when you set a stranger over you? When you set a stranger over you, you're going to live by that heathen's gods. You're going to be put under that heathen's system. And you're going to start, living by what their gods do. And then what does that put us? That puts us into captivity. So that's why we don't need to set a stranger over us. We don't need to set a stranger. We need to set our people, somebody from our nation. Well, the one that's going to be set over is anyway, Yahweh Shah. That is our king anyway.
Deuteronomy.
15?
All right, that's going to conclude the scriptures for the day. Mighty.
Yashahawah.
Men of Israel, gird up thy loins and prepare to salute the Torah. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak Yah. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak Yah.
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Barak, Yah.
Come on, bro. Mighty, Wapun Yah, Hapadah, which means rise and face the east. 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to read the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew, then in the English. Abinah, Shabbat Shemayim, Quadat, Hayah, Shemkah, Yahweh, Balak Rafka, Laba'ah, Ratazayika, Hayah, Aisha, Baratazah, Kawah, Hayah, Bashemayim, Nathanlinah, Lakam, Call, Yawam, Wasalak now, Kawat now, Kasalak now, Kawat now, Wala'ah, Labi'ai now, when I say one, above, Abishai Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatapa'ara, La'adulam, Amar, our Father,
art in heaven,
hallowed
be thy name,
hallowed be thy name,
thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven, give us this day, our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
This is Hakat, the power, Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Baba Bashar, Nathanlinah, Hakat, Arapa'ah, Kamaka Allah, Wakomarwa, Hakat, Latahar, Hamatazarayim, Hakat, Lahatmi, Hamatni, Hakat, Arakawa, Hatma'ala, Lakarashan, Bashim Yahushua, the one Ramah.
English. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
The name of Yahushua.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the power.
The power to heal.
The power to heal.
All manner of sickness.
All manner of sickness.
And all manner of disease.
And all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the leper.
The power to cleanse the leper.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the dead.
The power against unclean spirits.
The power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out.
Cast them out.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it. This is bless Israel. Yahweh. Bashim Yahushua. Barak Lanah. Waya Sha'ala. Wahabayah. Sabari. Barak. Rapab. Magan. Bashim Yahushua. The water Amar.
In the English. Yahweh.
In
the name of Yahushua.
The name of Yahushua.
Bless us. And Israel.
And the school. Bless. Heal. Shield. Protect.
And loved ones. In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it. We're reading Psalm 121 in Hebrew. Isupk, Ayanya, Ahaharia, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Isariah, Ma'ayin, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Waratazah, Ayathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Ayanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yishan, Sharamah, Yasha'al, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Ayah, Yamikah, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakakah, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makora, Yashamar, Atnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'afka, Wawaka, Mayathan, Wa'ai, Awala, Amar.
I will lift up my eyes into the hill.
From whence cometh my help? My help coming from Yahweh.
Which made heaven and earth.
He
will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee
Will not slumber.
will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Israel,
he that keepeth
shall
Israel
neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right
The
hand.
sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not strike thee thy day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee
Yahweh shall preserve thee
from all evil.
from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in.
and thy coming in.
From this time forth,
From this time forth,
and even forevermore.
even forevermore.
So be it.
So be it. Psalm 83 in the Hebrew. Alahai.
Alahai.
Al-Damayalaka.
Al-Damayalaka.
Al-Fakarash.
Al-Hakarash.
For all Fashakwat.
For all that shall pass.
Al. Kayana.
Yahana.
Awayabika.
Al-Yalaka.
Yahamiyawan.
Al-Yawan.
Munashanayaka.
Al-Shanayaka.
Nashawa.
Nashawa.
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash.
Al-Aimaka.
Al-Aimaka.
Ya'amayabwa.
Al-Yamwa.
Sawa.
Sawa.
When you think your eye tells a wa.
Whether your eye tells a what,
Atazapawanyaka.
after the one you got,
Amarawa.
tomorrow,
The Kawa.
the cover,
When a Kakium.
when the cocky,
Magoya.
Magoya.
Well,
well,
Yasakar.
Yasakar.
Sham Yasha'al.
Sham Yasha'al.
Iwad.
Iwad.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Now, I tells a wa.
our eye tells a what,
La.
La.
Yakadwa.
Yakadwa.
Al-Yakad.
so I said,
Al-Yakad.
Al-Yakad,
Baryah.
or yeah,
Yakaratwa.
that's a rock,
Ahoya.
holy,
Arawam.
out of one,
When Shemai Alayam.
from Shema out of them,
Mawa'aba.
from out,
Wahagariam.
right,
The ball.
ball,
Wa I'm a one.
from one,
Wa I'm a one.
from one,
Wa I'm a lot.
from a lot,
Palashah.
from a shot,
I'm Yeshabya.
from the shot,
Taz a war.
Taz a war.
Gum Ashawar.
come out of war,
Nalawa.
Nalawa.
Imam.
Imam.
Hayawa.
and you walk,
Zarawai.
Zarawai.
Labanyalawa.
Labanyalawa.
Salah.
Salah.
Aishalaham.
Aishalaham.
Kamagyan.
Kamagyan.
Kasayasara'a.
Kasayasara'a.
Kayagyam.
Kayagyam.
Menachol.
Menachol.
Kayagashwan.
Yashua,
Neshamadwa.
Neshamadwa.
Ba'ayanda Ara.
Ayanda Ara.
Hayawa.
Ayawa,
The man,
Man.
the Adama,
Adama.
Shayatamwa,
Shayatamwa.
the Yabwa,
The Yabwa.
Ka'aran,
Ka'aran.
because of Abba,
Because of Abba.
because of Ba,
Because of Ba.
because of Zolmanai, couldn't have saw your come
Where does it come from?
Ashar,
Ashar.
Amarwa,
Amarwa.
Never shot,
Never shot.
never shot, none what?
None what?
Yeah, can you do
Ah,
Ah,
Alahaya.
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 Shaythamba.
Shaythamba.
Gabala.
Kadama.
Watch. The Punya Rakab.
The Punya
Ka'ash. Shama Ira Ya Ira.
Shama Ira Ya Ira.
Kalahaba.
Kalahaba.
Dalahat. Harya. Khan. The Radatma. What's the Iraka? What's the pop? What was the pop?
What was the pop?
Mala'ah. Punya. For the one. Where you Bakwashwa. Shakar. Yahweh. Yabashwa. Where you Yehovah. Adai. Where you Kaparwa. Where you Adwa. Where you Da'aiwa. Kaya. Azah.
Yeah, come. Shakar.
Shakar.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Labaka.
Labaka.
Our one.
Our one.
Our call.
Our call.
How
In the English, keep not thy silence.
Keep not thy silence,
O
O
Yahweh. O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O Yahweh.
And be not still,
For
Yahweh.
lo, thy enemies make a turmoil. And they that hate thee
And they that hate thee
have lifted up the
have
head.
lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel
They have taken correct counsel
against thy people
against thy
and
people.
consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said,
They have said,
come, and let us cut them off.
let us cut them off
From being a nation.
from being a nation.
That the name of Israel may be no more remembered. But they have consulted together
Spoken together
with one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom
The tabernacles of
and
Edom,
the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, the Baal, and Ammon, and Amalek,
and Amalek,
the Philistines,
the Philistines,
and the inhabitants of
the
Tyre.
inhabitants of Tyre,
Asher also was joined with them.
also joined with
They
them.
have hope in the children of Lot,
The children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah.
You went to them?
You went to them.
It's into the Midianites.
It's into the Midianites.
It's to Sisera.
It's to Sisera.
It's to Jabin.
It's to Jabin.
It's the brook of Kisan.
It's the brook of Kisan.
Which perished the Endor.
Perished the Endor.
They became as dung for the
They
earth.
became as dung for the earth.
Make their nose like a red.
They know it's like a red.
And like the head.
And like the head.
Yea.
Yea.
All their princes.
All their princes.
As the Ba.
As the Ba.
And as Amunah.
As the woman.
Who said,
Said,
let us take to ourselves
Let us take to ourselves
the houses of the Most
the
High
houses
the
of the
Most
Most
High.
High.
in possession.
In possession.
Oh my power.
Oh my power.
Make them like a wheel.
Make them like a wheel.
As the stuff before the wind.
As the stuff before the wind.
As the fire burneth the wood.
As the fire burns the
And
wood.
as the flames set the mountains on
And
fire.
flames flooded the mountains on fire.
So persecute them.
So persecute them.
With thy tempest.
With thy
And
tempest.
make them afraid.
And make them afraid.
With thy storm.
With thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame.
Fill their faces with shame.
That they may seek thy
And
name.
they seek thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
Let them be confounded.
Let them be
In
confounded.
trouble forever.
In trouble forever.
Yea.
Yea.
Let them be put to shame.
Let them be put to shame.
And perish.
And perish.
That men may know.
That men may know.
That thou.
That thou.
Whose name alone.
Whose name alone.
Is Yahweh.
Is Yahweh.
Art the Most High.
Art the Most High.
Over all the earth.
Over all the earth.
So be.
So be it. So be it. There's the blessings. The rocket thing Yahweh.
Rocket thy Yahweh.
Or Yahweh Shah.
Or Yahweh Shah.
Wamayaka Allah.
Wamayaka Allah.
Wa Allah Hayya.
Allah Hayya.
Matazab Ya'ah.
Matazab Ya'ah.
Allah Wak Yahana.
Allah Wak Yahana.
Ha Allah Wakya.
Allah Wakya.
Ha Saranyam.
Saranyam.
Ha Korteza Yanyam.
Ha Korteza Yanyam.
Ha Kaya Yoyam.
Ha Kaya Yoyam.
Wa Ha Akwathyam.
Wa Ha Akwathyam.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Wa Hashim Yahweh Shah.
Hashim Yahweh Shah.
The word of man.
The word of man in the angels. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shah.
And Yahweh Shah.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Man, General Yohana.
And General Yohana.
The general.
The general.
The captain.
The captain.
The officer.
The officer. The troop.
And the sister.
And the sister.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be.
So be it.
This is the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh.
Blessed are you, Yahweh.
King of heaven and earth.
King of heaven and earth.
And all things living.
And all things living.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
Listen to us now.
Listen to us now.
Right now.
Right now.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and destruction.
Punishment and destruction.
To the heathen.
To the heathen.
That speak against us.
That speak against us.
Like prophets.
Like prophets.
The teachers.
The teachers.
The princes.
The princes.
The priests.
The priests.
The Israelite brothers.
The Israelite brothers.
And the school.
And the school.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and destruction.
And punishment and destruction.
To the heathen.
To the heathen.
And shake loose the treasure.
And shake loose the treasure.
Of the rich of Israel.
Of the rich of Israel.
That refuse to give to the school.
That refuse to give to the school.
Force their riches.
Force their riches.
To enter into thy
To
sanctuary.
enter into their sanctuary.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and destruction.
And punishment and destruction.
To the Edomites.
To the Edomites.
And the nation.
And the nation.
And their drug dealers.
And the drug dealers.
The court system.
The court system.
The prison system.
The prison system.
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood.
And all the governments of our enemies.
All the governments of our enemies.
Amalek synagogues and armies.
Amalek synagogues and arms.
Roman Catholic Church.
Roman Catholic Church.
The Pope.
The Pope.
Islam.
Islam.
Christianity.
Egyptology.
Egyptology. Militia. Ku Klux Klan.
Ku Klux Klan.
Aryan Nation.
Aryan Nation.
Skinhead.
Skinhead.
Posse Comitatus.
Posse Comitatus.
The gay movement.
The gay movement.
The gay movement.
The gay movement.
The lesbian movement.
Lesbian.
The lesbian movement.
Lesbian.
Spies.
Spies.
Workers of witchcraft.
Workers of witchcraft.
NASA space program.
NASA space program.
Army. Navy.
Navy.
Air Force.
Air Force.
Marines. Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Open up the internet.
Open up the internet.
And the airwaves.
And the
The
airways.
cable access channel.
Cable access channel.
And the radio channel.
And the radio channel.
Convict the spirit.
Convict the spirit.
Of any of thy people.
Of any of thy people.
That seek to stop
That
us.
seek to stop us.
And bring swift destruction.
And bring swift destruction.
To all the heathen.
To all the heathen.
That stand in the way.
Stand in the way.
Will try to stop us.
Try to stop us.
From broadcasting your word.
Broadcasting your word.
Throughout the planet Earth.
Throughout the planet Earth.
Let loose all the plagues.
Let loose all the
Let
plagues.
loose all the plagues.
Let loose all the plagues.
Cause them to go to and fro.
Cause them to go to and from.
Through the earth.
Through the earth.
And consume them.
And consume them.
Let the plagues.
Let the plagues.
Take the house of the thief.
Take the house of the thief.
And the murderer.
And the murderer.
Let Yahweh Shah.
Let Yahweh Shah.
Michael and Gabriel.
Michael and Gabriel.
Come down with the flying saucer.
Come down with the flying saucer.
And punish all the heathen.
And punish all the heathen.
That come up against us.
Come up against us.
As we speak thy word.
As we speak thy word.
Cause it to be known.
Cause it to be
By
known.
all.
And all.
That is the angels that have done
There's
it.
angels that do it.
Cause it to be spread.
Cause it to be
Through
spread.
the media.
Through the media.
Throughout the whole world.
Throughout the whole world.
Cause them to shake at thy coming.
Cause them to shake and not coming.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
Thank you always.
Thank you always.
So be it.
So be it.
So.
Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Amayim Shabbat, Aimania, Barak, Yahweh Ba Shikya B'Shabrak
How about you, Shabbat? No.
Yaya Matah, class dismissed.